Hi everyone, welcome to this week's edition of the CertiK Security Leaderboard Showcase. I'm your host, Aaron Leibowitz. As you all know well by now, in this showcase we host a guest for a live AMA where we discuss their work with CertiK, the Security Leaderboard, and we throw in some live questions from you, the viewers. Our goal here is to raise the standards of security in the DeFi ecosystem. The Security Leaderboard is a free tool to help you DYOR. Today I'll be joined by the team behind Base Protocol. There will be a $200 worth of Base prize for best questions today. Thank you to the Base team for providing that. Please remember to like and subscribe before we jump in. Now let's head over to the Security Leaderboard and take a look at Base's listing. So here's what you see when you land at CertiK.org. As you can see on the right, we have community alerts, trending projects. All of the projects here have one, if not multiple, security solutions provided. Now let's head over to Base's page. So Base has chosen to employ the audit, the Skynet, as well as the CertiK Shield. That's a full end-to-end security solution for them. You can click into their audit here, go through their Skynet analysis, and I encourage all of you to go to their page, click through those governance tabs, and the rest of it. Now, please help me in welcoming Nick from the Base team. Nick,
hey guys. Yeah.
How you doing?
Good.
Glad to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome.
So can you start by giving us an overview of Base Protocol, or Base 2.0, should I say?
Yeah, maybe a little bit of both. So historically up to this point, Base Protocol is a rebasing asset, similar to Ampleforth, which is the pioneer and most popular rebasing token, except that Ampleforth is a token which is pegged to the dollar, whose supply can dynamically adjust and is elastic such that a price target is met. Again, in the case of Ampleforth, that price target is $1. Now, Base takes that kind of rebasing protocol and targets a different price peg, which in our case is the overall crypto market cap, 1 to the 1 trillionth. Just meaning that if the crypto market cap, the overall crypto market cap, is 1 trillion, Base price targets $1. If it's 1.5 trillion, Base price targets $1.50, and so forth. In this way, Base's goal is really to be kind of an index token that people can hold, whose performance tracks the performance of the overall crypto market. So that's how Base has worked since kind of our inception and launch in December up until now. However, we've just identified a certain number of challenges with that architecture and have found certain strengths and opportunities and other approaches that we're exploring taking now, which is what we're calling Base 2.0.
Got it. So in talking about that, you say it's the total market cap of all crypto.
Correct.
Is there any token that's excluded?
No, it's essentially no. It really is every crypto in the market, and the way that data is used is through Chainlink Oracle that we were the co-creator and co-sponsor of with Chainlink. So if you go to Chainlink's data feeds, you'll find an Oracle for total crypto market cap, and we were the first to do that with them and the first use case on that Oracle, and they're capturing that data from a number of different sources and nodes. So that's where we get the total crypto market cap number from.
That makes a lot of sense, and it's great to see that you're using a decentralized Oracle for that. It's staying true to the nature of DeFi. So in the 2.0 release docs, and again here, you guys spoke about and compared Base traditional index fund like the S&P 500. I think that's quite an apt comparison. It makes a lot of sense. Can you share with our viewers why index funds are useful for investors traditionally and now both in crypto? They're included in just about every traditional finance portfolio that I've ever seen. And I think a lot of the viewers and the crypto people might not have that finance background to understand why they're important.
Yeah, I think you're making a great point. So as we've seen in DeFi, we're creating a number of innovations that are built on traditional financial institutions and concepts. It's just taking finance and decentralizing it. So the entire idea of earning yields, lending, etc. We're just seeing that moving into a decentralized cryptocurrency space. And in the same way that we've taken those legacy finance models and have been disrupting those, I think that one of the bigger core components to legacy finance is the index fund or index asset model. Yeah, the S&P 500 is one of the most popularly held investments across the entire equities markets, and we still haven't seen any effective cryptocurrency index for a basket of cryptocurrencies yet that has really taken off. And so that was, yeah, go ahead.
Definitely nothing decentralized. We have seen BITW, which you can buy like 401k or something.
Right. And so we're looking at create that decentralized protocol for an index, and Base Protocol 1.0 was really the first attempt at that. And Base was in its 1.0 state a purely synthetic, algorithmically pegged token that wasn't actually backed by the underlying assets which it seeks to represent. The goal was just for price to peg effectively, and that based on a number of kind of economic theories and hypotheses that the token could eventually act as a proper index to the overall crypto market. And we have seen periods where it has. We just think that there may be a more effective system where, again, we can actually have the assets in some respect backing the token itself, and where people's token supply isn't so susceptible to changes, because it's one of the biggest problems that we face with Base, and that Ampleforth faces, and every other rebasing asset, is that you have a number of people who buy it for its who are holding it for its core utility, which in the case of Ample is to just be a dollar pegged stable coin. In the case of Base is to be this token that tracks the performance of the overall crypto market. And while the rebase protocol is effective in pegging prices, right, like the price chart will relate as it's supposed to, people's wallet balances are often in flux in ways that kind of undermines that core utility and creates a lot of confusion in the community, etc. And so, we're moving to a different model whereby, and I guess I'll just kind of start introducing it. There's going to be a 2-token ecosystem of Base and Bit. Bit is going to be more for the speculators. That's really where the reward vector is going to be for Base holders. They'll basically stake their Base for Bit, and I'll go into detail on that later. But Base itself, the other side of that ecosystem, is now going to be a supply stable token, whose price ideally is tracking the overall crypto market. So that's going to be the really kind of native token to the ecosystem that we're looking forward to more effective market performance tracking. And then there's going to be Bit, which is where you again are exposed to different kinds of reward vectors, kind of like positive rebases for those familiar with rebases. But
before we really dive into the 2-token ecosystem, let's first start by talking about what rebasing actually is, because the first time I was introduced to the idea where your token balance in your wallet can change without you doing anything. That's to keep the price peg. However, it really does have a negative effect on holders of that token because, the price is correct, but now your balance of that token is not what you originally purchased.
Yeah, so I'll give a brief run through, just like kind of a catch up on rebasing for anybody who's watching this and isn't familiar with the concept. The basic idea is that you have a token whose sole objective is to peg price to a certain target. Now, just for example, let's say that target is $1. So you have a token which exists, and its whole function is to always be worth $1.
Yep.
So that token at this moment in time is worth $1. But let's say then that people start buying it. And what happens when you buy anything? Price goes up. So that token that was worth $1 is now worth $1.50. Well, as I mentioned before, the sole objective of this token protocol is to make sure that token is worth $1, but now it's worth $1.50. Therefore, that peg has been disrupted and needs to be brought back to equilibrium. So what a rebasing protocol is going to do in this case is it's actually going to create more supply across the network. So if the price of a token is $1 and now it's $1.50, the protocol is going to create 50% more tokens across everyone's wallet balance, which is then going to bring scarcity down and drive price back down to $1. Now, the positives of that is that it does a great job, by definition, of keeping price pegged whenever it, falls out of that peg window. However, the negative side is that everyone across the ecosystem is seeing changes in their wallet balance for a rebase token. Sometimes in ways that are positive, where they're excited and happy and no one's complaining because they just opened up their MetaMask and have extra tokens now. And then sometimes in the opposite direction, where they're asking where their tokens went because they're not used to something like this. So that's what a rebasing token is, and it's sometimes fun and sometimes scary or confusing for holders.
For sure, I could see that being very worrisome if I opened up my wallet one day and saw significantly less tokens than I expected. So you guys have had quite a journey since December, getting yourselves to this base 2.0. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's not launched yet? Base 2.0?
Base 2.0 is not launched yet.
Got it. Do you guys have a date in mind or anything that you want to share?
Nothing that we've made public yet, no.
Cool. So it's clear that there's been a ton of learning along the way, going from a rebasing model to now transitioning to this two-token system. I think you've just sort of explained why you moved off rebasing from the customer side, but there's also a second part of it, which is some DEXs are stopping listing rebasing tokens. Can you explain why they're doing that, or your thoughts on why?
Yeah, well, so in the base 2.0 paper that we've released, we talk about certain advantages about the system that we're moving towards. Most importantly, in my opinion, being compatibility with different partners and integrations and platforms in DeFi. So DEXs are just one, right? We saw, and also we kind of anticipated, that Uniswap v3 wouldn't have support for rebasing tokens. I'll be honest with you, I love Uniswap, but there was a point in time very early on in the launch of Base Protocol where there was a vulnerability in the liquidity pool related to rebase tokens that was present on Uniswap, and not present on other DEXs, but Uniswap just didn't really have Uniswap just hadn't quite crossed their T's and dotted their I's when it came to potential attack vectors for rebase tokens. And so we had some issues there, resolved the issues quickly on our side. But yeah, we did our best to kind of get some help from Uniswap at that time, and that was sort of to no avail. And so we were always a little bit worried that some of these protocols that would have to make more tailored efforts for rebasing tokens just might not make those efforts. And that's been our experience with not just decentralized exchanges, but a lot of other different platforms where there are challenges in adopting a rebase token. So for example, if Base was ever going to be a borrowable asset on a platform like Aave or Compound, which there's a really great use case for Base as a borrowable asset. I won't get into it, but to me, it's one of the most compelling. As a rebasing token whose supply is constantly changing, there's just so many questions, and again, so much tailored effort that would be needed to make that work even a decentralized ecosystem like that. And this is all not to mention the challenges that rebase tokens bring as it relates to centralized sides of cryptocurrency. So I won't talk about exchanges and everything, but I will say exchanges don't like rebase tokens.
For sure, that makes
so there's
extra effort can be a tough one.
Right. So it's just a wide array of compatibility challenges. And as to why certain dexes aren't, providing that support, I don't know. I mean, it would be great if they would, but they aren't. And the beauty of it is that we're not all too worried about it, because we've been, sort of masterminding this new 2-token ecosystem for a while now, whereby Base is now again going to be a supply stable asset, or a wallet balance stable asset, such that it'll now be compatible with anything, just like any other token.
Very cool. That makes a lot of sense for the future health of the protocol.
Mm-hmm.
So in moving to the 2-token ecosystem, what's going to happen to holders of Base 1.0?
Holders of Base 1.0 won't be affected. The only, I guess, thing that's going to happen is that at some point in the future, the last rebase is going to happen, and that base is going to become again, supply stable token, where people will see what's in their wallet balance, and it's not going to change the next day. Now, what's more interesting is that there's going to be kind of two different holders once the rebases end, right? Because once rebases, right, base and bit. So once rebases end, you've got, on one hand, a holder of Base who just wants Base as an asset that tracks the performance of the overall crypto market. They're not interested in anything complicated, any second, token. They're just happy that they've got Base, and now it doesn't rebase, and they like that stability.
Makes sense.
But then there's a second kind of holder who says, hey, I really liked rebases, because rebases gave me exposure to the new growth and adoption of Base protocol. And I still want that exposure. I still want, again, a reward vector to when, new people are adopting this platform that I was an early adopter for. And that's what positive rebases really do, is it takes, people who were involved in this project early, who really kind of appreciated the vision and were holding Base. As new holders come in, they're seeing rewards in the form of new Base tokens in their wallet with these positive rebases that are happening. Now, when rebasing ends, they're not going to see that reward vector. So if those people want that reward vector, what they're going to have to do with their Base is now stake it, right, in something called a crypto denominated time deposit, which is where they basically say, hey, here's my Base. Here's my, for example, 1,000 Base. They bid that 1,000 Base in an auction process that I could explain. We've got some guides and videos out now on how the auction process is going to work. It's really cool. But they would basically bid that 1,000 Base for some amount of bit. Now that 1,000 Base relates to 10 bit. It's 1 to 100. So they would supply 1,000 Base, and then they would be given bit with some expiry date. For example, it might be 1 month. And then there's going to be an auction process to determine what the rate of accumulation is on that bit. So that rate of accumulation could be 1,000% over the course of that month. It could get competitive and be 20% or 10% or 5% or 500%. It's market determined via auctions, but that rate will be set, and then that person their Base will then be deposited. They'll be in return given bit, and that bit is in many ways similar to a bond, but it's not a bond. And they can then, at the expiration date of that bit, that's that crypto denominated time deposit, they would then get the original Base that they deposited and all the additional Base that was accumulated through that ROA. And so that's where they're getting rewarded. So there's now going to be two kinds of holders: those who, again, are just holding Base as an index asset, and then those who want exposure to growth of the Base protocol network, which they would get by participating in the bit ecosystem.
Makes sense. So Nick, now we're gonna, speaking of rewards, just want to remind everyone, for live questions, there are rewards provided by the Base team. Let's shoot off some live questions here, shall we?
Sure.
Ready for a little rapid fire?
Yeah, for sure.
All right, starting with, what are the plans to educate and raise awareness and adoption among the community to make more people understand the project?
So we've certainly got a number of strategic marketing plans. As of right now, everything that we've released for Base 2.0 is, like I've said before, sort of pseudo private. It's really just for the community. And I was happy to talk about it with you guys. But that being said, there's no resources or funding being put behind like the marketing of this right now. We just really wanted to include today's community in the sort of ideation process for this and make sure that they're the first to know as we kind of go forward in really building this out. So with that said, though, in terms of educating the community, it's going to be kind of twofold. On one hand, educating is going to be a lot easier because now not everyone who's holding base is confused as to why their supply is going up or down. The initial on-ramp to base when someone buys base for the first time is that it's now a supply stable token whose price ideally tracks the performance of the overall crypto market. So there's a lot of confusion actually eliminated there, which makes education a bit easier. Now, on the other hand, there's going to be quite a bit of additional education necessary for people who are actively participating in the bit auction process. I've been mentioning that, in that respect, we're really looking for a more sophisticated class of kind of DeFi enthusiasts and, money game geeks who really want to play in that world. So we're going to be, creating a lot of materials, videos, and things to make it easy and understood for people to get in.
Excellent. We got to move quick here. We only have a handful of minutes left, so let's move on to the next question. Your platform is able to generate a huge amount of data speaking about user preferences, strategies, and behaviors. You using that data for anything? Do you plan to use them in the future?
Can you repeat that one more time?
So this question was about that your platform can capture a lot of data about user preferences.
Yeah.
Do you guys use that data for anything?
Yes, definitely. We always keep a pulse on our user preferences and user behaviors, and as a result of that pulse, we're always open to making big changes if necessary, and that's really why we're taking Base 2.0 where it's going.
Makes sense. So moving on, how do you keep your funds safe?
It's really if this is more of a technical question, I wish that I could have one of our developers on to really talk about it. But yeah, we do a lot of things, and just kind of industry standard stuff. And I guess most importantly, I'd say CertiK and CertiK Shield. That's a big one for us.
So on that note, can you speak for a second about your choice to deploy CertiK Shield and audit as well as Skynet?
Yeah, I mean, we just want to make sure that we're up to the highest industry standards when it comes to security on the technical side. And, we really see CertiK as a premier sort of industry standard in the space. You guys have a good time-tested track record for what you do. And it's been a really great experience sort of working with you guys. And I love the profiles that you guys have for, like you said, like making the DYOR part easier for the everyone who's kind of engaging with the crypto space. I really love where CertiK's going. It's been a great experience working with you guys, and we look forward to working with you more, especially as we roll out some of this Base 2.0 stuff.
Excellent. Thanks for that. Back to some live questions here. Why is it better to hold a bag of all cryptocurrencies at once and not just a small handful that you've picked?
Because when you're holding them all at once, you guarantee exposure to the performance of all of them, including those ones that you may have otherwise missed out on. So yeah, you could just hold some basket of assets that you've picked out yourself, but were you there for Bitcoin when it first started? Were you there for Ethereum when it first started? Were you there for Chainlink when it first started? By holding the basket that encompasses really that entire ecosystem of thousands of tokens, you're guaranteeing that you'll have exposure, at least some exposure, to that growth of any kind of emerging projects. And that, among the just kind of basic case that's always made, which is that major indexes in traditional finance always outperform people who try to sort of trade themselves. There's a lot of data on that, and we think that that'll also perhaps be relevant in the crypto market.
For sure, that makes a lot of sense. So moving on here, why a 1 to 1 trillion peg rather than any other number?
We think it's the most elegant and it's the easiest to explain. So, with the markets really kind of, but before we hit the $1 trillion crypto market threshold, to us, it was actually right, like coming out of the gates, it was like 50 cents base because the overall crypto market cap was 500 billion. And now it's actually gone up to, dollar digits because the market's in the trillions. And we think that, it's pretty, it's elegant. And most importantly, though, it's when we communicate it. It's a lot easier for me to say the peg is 1 to the trillionth than it is for me to say 1 to the 10th trillionth or 1 to the 100 billionth. It's just 1 to 1 trillion. That's what basis peg is.
Fair enough. That does make a lot of sense for me. Let's see, what else, guys? Keep asking questions for a chance to earn some rewards here. What are your top priorities in 2021? Can you share some plans for the upcoming year?
Top priorities in 2021 is really taking base 2.0 live from on the functional side, and then also the new base front end that we previewed earlier on this year. We don't want to give too many more previews on that, but Base is having a full branding revamp, and we think that you guys are going to love all the new UI and UX we're working on. I mean, we're really making some big changes, and it sounds I'll sound crazy when I say it now, but to me, what we've created so far in mockups is the coolest website in cryptocurrency today. So we're really excited to actually get that out to you guys.
I'm very excited. Ping you guys for maybe a sneak demo at some point.
Yeah, we can maybe do that.
So what are your ways of scaling and developing the project in such a competitive and hot time in the ecosystem, in this industry as a whole, I suppose? And what are your technological advantages over any competitors you may have?
Can you repeat the first part of that question again?
Yeah, so it's about scaling and developing the project in such a competitive time in this ecosystem where everyone's scrambling to get to market.
Well, the first thing I'll say is I'm really happy for the relationships that we have developed and established before the markets got so crazy. So between some of our different VC backers and strategic partners and influencers who we made good friends with earlier on before the markets got so nuts and competitive, we still keep in contact with those people. To some respect, we're kind of I guess a DeFi OG at this point when you consider the timing as it relates to all the other launches that have come out. So that's one thing that keeps us in a good place in terms of grabbing attention in this kind of increasingly competitive crypto space. But among other competitors who are doing similar stuff, well, they're taking certain approaches, we're taking certain approaches, and we're confident that we've got a pretty unique take on how to make this index work that we're looking forward to.
Excellent. I love to hear that. Guys, you have just 1 minute left to get in your last questions. So shoot them off now or miss out on the opportunity.
I'll have to make these one-word answers.
We got one here. What do you think differentiates you from other projects? And how did you come up with the idea for Base?
Differentiates us, we're the smartest. How did we come up with the idea? We're the smartest.
We'll have to accept that answer. All right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for the time today. Really enjoyed this. I was very excited to read through the Base 2.0 paper. I suggest everyone here does it. How can people stay up with your project? Anywhere that they should be heading?
Join the Telegram. Follow us on Twitter. Our new Twitter is @baseprotocol.org on Twitter. Find us there. We'll be posting updates there. Go to our website, baseprotocol.org. That's where you'll find all of our social medias.
Awesome. And everyone, please remember to like and subscribe. Check out Base's listing on CertiK.org as well. And thanks, Nick. Really enjoyed this. Cheers, everyone. Catch you next week.